Hello and welcome to Morningstar's series, Why Should I Invest With You? Joining me today is Graham Campbell. He's CEO at Saracen and manager of the Global Income and Growth Fund. Graham, thanks for joining me.
Good morning, thank you.
So looking at the Global Income and Growth Fund's performance on an annualised basis over the last 3-4 years, it's pretty strong, sort of around about 10% per year. But the last 2 years have been quite weak compared to the previous 2 years. What are the headwinds that you're seeing there?
We take a long-term view to our stock selection and our performance, but it's always nice when the short-term also works out well, but sadly, as we know, it doesn't always happen. Last year was a year where we didn't find as much value in North America, which is a large part of the MSCI index, and we don't benchmark against an index, but clearly the impact of the US market being strong and also a very strong dollar was a negative for us in 2014. So far this year has been a very sort of mixed year. We started very strongly the first 4 or 5 months, where we found much more value towards more cyclical companies, but with concerns about slowing growth in China, more defensive stocks have been in vogue for the last few months, though we're still very hopeful for the year as a whole.
You mentioned the US there and valuations. I see, looking at the portfolio, that you're primarily invested in sort of UK, Europe and the US, though obviously it is a global fund. So what does that tell us about sort of where you're finding opportunities?
We tend to look underneath the companies at where their sales are, and certainly it's easier to find businesses that are growing revenues, profits and dividends where there is more growth. So we do like emerging markets. The problem we've found very often is that either the yields have been just too low or with poor returns on capital. But looking at the underlying sales of the portfolio, we have around a third in North America, a third in Europe, and actually a third in the rest of the world. So we find businesses that may be domiciled in Europe, but actually have lots of their sales in other parts of the world.
Now, obviously, you're looking for stocks that are going to provide both that income and capital growth part for the investor. Are there any specific sectors where you're finding, say, income opportunities or perhaps growth opportunities?
I think within a portfolio, there's always some variety of drivers. We're in a very unusual situation just now, whereas we're finding some very large companies that have very high yields and nominal levels you regard as worryingly high yields. Sectors like, for example, some of the financial sectors, some banks, but also some oil and gas and resources. And we found that we think that over the next couple of years, most of that return will be from dividends. But actually looking out over 3, 4 and 5 years, there's a phenomenal opportunity for capital growth as well.
Well, Graham Campbell of Saracen, thank you so much for sharing your views with us today.
Thank you very much.
For Morningstar, I'm Holly Cook. Thanks for watching.